Okay, now it's streaming. Alrighty.
Yeah, but you haven't pinged the diamond.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's because there's there's a delay. So I'll try and ping now. Real quick, just go. Come through.
Okay, so we are on.
Yes. Now these.
What's popping, Logang? It's your boy, the Siberian Rabbit, and some other loser that no one cares about.
Thanks. Truly lifelike in your impression. Alright, these kids didn't get the memo. Come on. Let's go.
There are two people on. One of them is me. Oh no, I am on the
Start,
other
friend.
account.
Yeah, there. Now I messaged both of them, so there's no excuse. Okay, and also, again, to anyone watching / listening, make sure to let us know how I sound and how our guest of today, Siberian, sounds. All right, there we go. They have begun.
And Rockstrat wins again.
Yeah, it's because Paper Strat is clearly optimal, and these kids aren't playing on the most optimal level. RPS Strat's intense, yo. So we were talking a little bit about this before going live, but I don't double check what people's lists are because I think it's more interesting to get surprised when I see something like the first Zoo monster pop out. And I can talk a little bit more about deck choices as they happen.
I don't because I'm not an admin and I don't get the privilege to check out the deck list in advance.
Yeah, I've seen everyone's deck list. I just check for legality mostly. This is a fairly standard Zoo play, though the Ram actually gives defense, such that it is a 2000 defense Broad Bull here, which means that maybe slapping that bad boy in defense mode would have been better, because
maybe Reaper just as a grip flop card of traps and answers.
True. Yeah, the fact that he searched Thoroughblade instead of Whiptail means that this is probably a Whiptail waiting in hand and leaving it in attack mode as a calculated bait to see what Arcane's gonna do in response. Like, will he just attack this wimpy looking 400 attack Broad Bull? Like,
yeah, this is smart because it's the kind of misplay that most people would actually make. So if he is actually misleading him, then
yeah, it's a very straightforward, but there's like no opportunity cost to making this play as opposed to putting the Broad Bull in defense, and there's like great gain from the potential of sniping a monster that tries to hit over the Broad Bull with less than 1600 attack but more than 400, so we'll see. So
he's probably thinking, am I being baited or is he actually that dumb?
Yeah, so we'll find out.
Comes Frosty, the Dragon Ruler of Ice. That's his real name. Don't double check.
Looks like Dragon Ruler's coming out here from Arcane Grove. Title. Kind of the worst one. I think Redox is the power of its in-hand pitch effect. That's a monster reborn. Means that it's better than Title, which is just like Foolish Burial. Not that Foolish Burial's bad. It's obviously broken, but like Foolish Burial's broken because it's a setup card. Monster Reborn's broken because it's a power card.
Wait,
and
what
when
does Tempest do?
Tempest is search a dragon from deck to hand, which is bonkers, so obviously.
Pop one, search, reborn, and burial.
Yes, yeah, and
nice.
Yeah, the thing about like using Title as a setup monster is having Title kind of means that you're already set up in a sense.
Okay.
He may just summon this Redox here because he's under the summon limit due to Flamvel Guard being a normal monster. Yeah. He may just summon it to try and eke out a little value with the Omega because that makes sure there's something banished. Or yeah, he can just do it with the Title and still trigger the Redox. So yeah. We'll see though if he thinks about this bait possibility, because attacking with the Omega into it, Omega can't use its dodge effect in the battle phase, so attacking with the Omega into a potential Whiptail is a lot scarier than attacking with this Tidal here, even though Tidal just activated its effects, if it does hit over the Broad Bull and then get banished, Omega can put it back. Obviously, you would kind of prefer to put back the Redox and still have the Tidal, so we'll see. Maybe he'll just not attack.
Man, Omega is broken. Oh, and he just passes. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it creates... and attack aside, this is probably going to be, of course, a very strong ability. The fact that it generates, and it was getting baited, as we were saying, but the fact that Omega generates a continuous stream of resources in a lot of decks makes it a mistake, I would say, in technical terms.
Yeah, we'll see. The Broad Bull gets an extra search here, but Broad Bull itself doesn't represent a very big threat. It needs the Thoroughblade under it, and then also at least one Whiptail under it to actually threaten this board. So we'll see what happens here. On the other hand, it can be used as link fodder to free up the extra monster zone, and there's like even spicier stuff that's technically possible. This is a little bit of deck list spoilers, but I believe that there are some.
What did the Reaper search with the first?
He grabbed Thoroughblade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were talking about it because he didn't grab Whiptail, which was like a bait. Or that's what we think at least. So his hand presumably is Thoroughblade, Bear, Whiptail, at least. And we'll find out whether or not we were right on the Whiptail. Oh, or we just got confirmation that Thoroughblade's there. I mean, pulling it out of the hand is still fine because that means you can't really establish a zoo monster with like the plus 1600 attack, which means this like hitting over this Tidal without ramming a zoo is like not particularly easy. Though I was gonna say yes.
What does that do?
Rank up Magic Raid Force. You can
a Raid Raptor.
You can rank up a Raid Raptor that's one higher.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
does this handsome fellow do?
If it has an XYZ, yeah.
Very well. And bones. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's got the Volcasaurus effect.
Doesn't detach?
Yes, it should detach. He searched with the Broad Bull, so.
Excuse me?
We can just send a message.
Yeah.
I like to get multiple eyes before saying something because maybe I'm the one who's made this misplay, not them. Stranger Falcon detaches for cost, right? Yeah, so it looks like Arcane picked up on it too, which is always good. You want to pay attention to what plays like your opponent's making and whether or not they're doing anything illegal, just in case. It's like not that you really expect them to be cheating, but more like everyone misses things, and sometimes catching something like that will matter because this Stranger Falcon can't use its effect next turn, which might be important. But yeah, actually I knew a little bit about this because we talked a little bit about it when he was turning in his deck list. The using rank ups to turn like random zoo duders who stick around into actual threats is like spicy, but also fairly effective, as you can see. That was
By the way, Stranger Falcon also, besides the popping, also has a reanimator effect. Do you think that's going to be relevant in any way, or is it just filler?
Yeah, probably not. It requires a Raid Raptor XYZ in the graveyard, so this is very clearly not a Raid Raptor deck. We'll see. Maybe it's like it's one of those things that might matter if he has another rank up magic somewhere in there. He gets back the Thoroughblade. But I was going to continue talking about what we know from the hand over here, because we saw the bear and the fetched a Tenki, and then I missed what it searched because we were talking, which is a bad. Don't do that. Pay attention to what your opponent searches. But this Thoroughblade should return, so we might have to send a reminder their way if they don't catch it soon. I'll do that, actually. You get Thoroughblade. Ah, I can't spell Thoroughblade. Back from Omega BT Dubs. I'll just leave the chat pulled up, but off to the side. Yeah, and it looks like Arcane still has... He's still got the Dragon Ruler set up to make at least a couple play. We'll see what he has for Redox targets. We all know that Flamvel Guard here as a Fire Dragon is a great blaster target, and then there's a Delta Flyer and Dragunity Corseska for Tempest, but the Redox and title search pools are far more limited. It's basically like Stream and Reactin, which we just saw. And there's not much else like...
He is on 50 cards, so he's probably not playing a lot of duplicate Dragon Lords.
Yeah. They can get themselves broken, but that doesn't come up as much in Trinity as it would in TCG Dragon Ruler. And it looks like he forgot Redox effect last turn, which I guess we missed or we're talking about something else on. But yeah, talking about the targets though, I'm not even sure if he had like multiple Redox targets here, if he's playing one Redox, one Reactin. It looks like he's on the small Red Eyes engine though. Blackstone is an effect monster, but it can summon a vanilla Red Eyes, which means that this is still a rank 7 under the summon limit.
Do you beat? Do you steal? Do you make Dragosack?
Yeah, I think that Dracosack is probably the safer play here. Big Eye, it's like, yeah, cool, but a Big Eye like 26 2028 isn't pressuring lethal harder than... I suppose it's a 2-turn kill, but like Dracosack and then just beating over it while keeping 2 tokens on board.
Oh, hold on, maybe he has another Dragon World.
Maybe this is about to turn into game, because there's still one more summon and one dragon in grave. And
okay, so this is 7800, I think.
This is...
And
he sent the Black Flare Dragon because Blackstone has another effect where you can shuffle another level 7 or lower Red Eyes to add it back to hand. So he can shuffle the Black Flare and add it to hand.
Oh, okay.
But instead, it looks like he was going for a Flare Metal play.
Doesn't really accelerate his block in any way, but...
But it does provide, similar to Big Eye here, it's going to be a 2-turn kill. And unlike Big Eye, Flare Metal can't be destroyed by card effects, and also has a quick effect that allows him to summon a Red Eyes from grave, which means that he's like a lot more... It was sort of like the best of both worlds, really, being able to use the Foolish to extend, because he has the resiliency to a turnaround play that the Dracosack line did, while also being a 2-turn clock. And
wait, Flare Metal can also reanimate?
Yeah. It rarely comes up, but you can detach to target a Red Eyes normal monster in your grave and summon it back. And it's also Dragon, where Big Eye is like Spellcaster, and Dracosack, while Wind, is Machine, and he doesn't have title access. Ogre is good, though. That's one of the cleanest outs to Omega, because you can hit it in the standby phase when it can't use its dodge effect, or you can hit it when it tries to dodge something. So we'll see. He'll need no effect. I suppose we'll find out shortly if he has the Whiptail that we were theorizing about. And what sort of zoo package he's running, because he doesn't have another Broad Bull. unless he's running a Trinity for it, which
It seems a little shaky.
it's spicy though. I'm from what I remember about the deck lists, I think he might be.
I mean, unless he is playing some crazy mind games, he should have the whip tail.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, what is the ooh,
Yo, that early scoop. I suppose like the only thing to be done there is Borbo lets you attack directly, and if he did have the
yeah.
whip tail, it would be whip tail, deal an extra, deal like 28 directly. So, dang, that was a very swift end to that. The the Ghost Ogre barely mattered other than the chance of pulling one of the important zoo pieces out. So I guess that shows that's really a testament to the power of having that rank up play. Like, don't underestimate how much damage using Volcasaurus can, like how much damage a Volcasaurus can put out. The like pop and burn and then attack. That was like what 2600 2016, which is oof enough to very cleanly steal away that game with the Borbo, as we saw.
I guess so, but still isn't a bad idea to make your opponent to show that he has little instead of just scooping.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even if it is 100% obvious, you still shouldn't scoop like that.
Yeah, yeah. You always want to make sure that your opponent doesn't misplay or do something like awkward on accident. It's like
Because there are some bluff master in this game. Probably none of them are in our Discord, but there are some in our world. And sometimes they get you, and they
yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
let you get caught.
I remember making
Nailed it.
Treetop sweat out whether or not I had honest because I like made a bad attack with a light
He took
monster.
Spirit, which means that he has fusion.
Yeah, yeah. The already on to game 2 here. It's nice that they sided pretty quickly, but Insight usually the like prime targets are Fusion, which is very powerful turn 1, or Spirit, which is what you get when you can't get Fusion. And because very similar to last game, because he got Spirit, you can now assume that he already has Fusion in hand. And this is there we go.
And there it is.
This is like a very general deck knowledge skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! Understanding what your opponent's deck does so you can make these sorts of predictions is very important. And we saw the entirety of
sort of tutor hierarchy. So you always tutor for this first.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
If this isn't available, or because you already have it, you go for this, go for this. And the knowing this can help you make deduction about what is the structure of the land. Now, in this case, it is fairly pointless since he is going to play the fusion right away. He isn't going to hold it.
Yeah,
But in other situations,
like last game,
last game,
where we saw that whole like whiptail bluff, like it's very important to understand these things about your opponent's deck. So another nice thing about Red Eye's Fusion here is it can send any level 6 dragon when it's making Meteor Black Comet here, and that's a Mana Dragon Zernatron, which is pretty good. It basically means that this Red Eye's Spirit, one way or another, is going to fetch the Darkness Metal, which is a scary amount of pressure.
By the way, our friend W-Train in the chat says, "I'm so happy I joined the stream that I hear the best commentator along with Body Team." Thank you, Train. Also, I don't know who this Body is. I am holding the stream by myself, but...
Har. So it looks like instead of a zoo play, it's going to be a more reactive rank 4 play. That's sort of one of the weaknesses of the zoo engine in general, is like when you have to go second, and the best thing that you can do is make a 2800 beater, and your opponent has something that's bigger than 2800, or even if they just have something to like crash or like respond to it, it's like your entire turn's worth of summons, and like it's pretty frightening, at least. Like, especially like ramming with a zoo monster to banish your opponent's monster while losing your own zoo thing really opens you up to get like killed on the crackback.
Yes, but this is a situation where you can reconvert, let's say, to a general rank 4 toolbox.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, that's still pretty powerful.
Yeah,
And
Photon Thrasher is just like a really strong card because it allows like you to play other level 4 monsters that are like make more advantage, and he like shores up that weakness of like being low tempo advantage makers, like Bear needing to attack directly or Gorilla to kill a monster. You can then use them and make a nice rank 4 over here. But we saw Arcane use his Red Eye Spirit there just to prevent a little bit of damage. I suppose he's a little shaken after that last game burst kill, but it's important to keep in mind when you can afford to hold a Red Eye Spirit like that, because going into Ripper's main phase 2, you never know if your opponent has an answer to this Red Eyes that solves it, like a mind control maybe, or like a soul taker, even though that's not particularly common. But like mind control and then linking away from it means that Arcane wouldn't have been able to access this revive effect that he's probably going to put to good use now. So it's important to keep those things in mind when making your decision based around how many life points you have. Like even though getting burst down is kind of scary, you aren't really going to get burst down from 6,900. So it's important to understand like
most times.
Yeah. Most times. It's just like a threat evaluation.
Especially in this format.
Yeah. Well,
because I've seen
TCG is its own game. I play Fluffles in the TCG sometimes, and the highest amount of damage I've been able to put out in one turn with like a handcrafted hand, like my choice of 5 cards exactly. Shut up! You're ruining the stream. That was my cat.
Don't be a fucking bully.
Yeah, he's a big cutie, but he's also very needy. Anyways, I was gonna say,
for animal abuse.
we were able to figure out a way to deal like 44,000 points of damage because of like Wolf's multiple attacking ability with Fluffles in the TCG with the perfect hand. Trinity is not like that.
By the way, Train again says that instead of going for Zernitron, Arcane Grove should have gone for Light Pulsar.
Yeah, I mean, Light Pulsar is also very powerful, especially because dragon decks of this sort aren't going to play a lot of back row in a way that this Mana Dragon might not come up for the rest of the game now that that Red Eye Spirit is gone. And this is like an important thing to keep in mind when deck building. Like, do you play enough lights and darks to make Light Pulsars? Like, if you draw it, it's easily summonable from hand, and if you send it off the fusion, can you pitch 2 to summon it back and get your Darkness Metal Light Pulsar loop going?
Like, I would say that this weird mishmash of attributes going on in the Dragon's deck is the closest Yu-Gi-Oh gets to having a mana restriction or a class restriction.
Yeah.
There is a lot of tension with the cards. They all want you to pull in different directions.
Yeah, the dragon rulers themselves working on attributes, but like not light and dark, means that you have to think carefully about including light and dark monsters that aren't dragons, how much they set you up versus like what is it worth. And in other news,
Jeremy Moore, I don't know who you are, says that like there's a bit of debate since Moore is saying that Zernitron ended up still protecting the spirit since
Yeah. It's like we don't
threat of the protection, while Train again saying that you don't need that protection since it's a trap. You can play it whenever you want.
Yeah, it's like we won't know whether or not the Zernitron actually saved this spirit because it got used. We will see, though.
Well, anyway, now we have Divine Protection plus a backup spirit.
Yeah. If this if this like Dragon Ravine were to get Ghost Ogred or something, the Xernatron could set the spirit again. And I was sort of gonna try and talk about this. This is gonna be a really big turn because the Red Eyes Darkness Metal started on board. The Black Flare is a Gemini. Redox was 1 summon. Blaster is 2 summons. This is Big Eye and lethal unless Card Ripper has another.
This is not Big Eye.
Yeah, unless he has a hand trap. I understand wanting to make Flare Metal here to get another revive.
And these scoops.
Well, I think it was still lethal because even through the 101 float effect or like protection from destruction effect, because that would be 28, 28, 24, 24, which is 300 and 300 over the 101 twice, and then 28, 28 directly, and the opponent would be left at 400 life, so they couldn't activate anything because of Flare Metal's burn effect. So it was effectively still lethal.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, it's time for a popularity poll. If you prefer body, type in bullet, so that the sniper that lives on the roof of my neighbor will snipe me. If you prefer me, type Vor, and I will eat Bodity on stream live right now. It's going to be great.
Holy shit. You freaky. People talk about how I'm the furry because I have a thing for Fairy Tale Snow. But you're the one who wants to vor me. Like, what the?
It's not sexual.
That's what you say, but...
the ugliest word in the English language. It just sounds so bad. Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah.
We get, again, no zoo place, but rank for 2 boxing.
Yeah, we'll see. This is...
But do you play rank turn 1?
Yeah. You can just Broad Bull, because Broad Bull is a generic rank 4.
Oh, I thought they were... most Zodiac had higher requirements, like 3 level 4, 4 level 4. But
yeah, most do actually. Broad Bull and Chakanine are the 2 that require 2, and then there are 2 that require 3, and Drident requires 4. Or you just put a zoo on them. Yeah.
Also, there is like Wild Bow that requires 5.
Yeah. Obviously, it's like not feasible to do any of the higher level ones. But even just making this Broad Bull here, getting a search and putting like a dude on board while setting up the Dark Worm, we'll see. We know Dragons is a very explosive deck that can just sort of kill you on turn 3, even in Trinity with like some limit restrictions and the like. So this like fact that Ripper here's had no back row most of last game and starting off this game, it's pretty frightening for his prospects, I think, because you usually need some sort of defense or else you'll just die to like burst damage at some point from a multiple Dragon Ruler summon turn, even if it's not right away after or it takes some setup.
Yeah, Dragon Rulers is especially scary because if there is a sentence that you want to never hear in any card game that you play, it's an aggro deck that can also grind you down.
Yeah, they're pretty frightening because the like being able to continue to summon them back from the grave to keep pressuring your life total is pretty scary. However, they definitely aren't in an overly dominant position. That it's just really hard to sort of make everything line up. Like, I feel like last game was a lot more of an outlier because we saw Arcane open Red Eyes Fusion and Red Eyes Spirit after setting up with Insight and Dragon Ravine to make sure that he had access to another Dragon Ruler, and it was like a baby ruler. So that was like about as good as it can get. And we're sort of seeing now one of the things that Dragon Ruler players have to concede sometimes is that they need to play one card starter plays just because the rest of their hand very often is like big mismatched high level dragon dudes.
How big is Whip?
It's 1200.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah, so he could have used the whip and then banished the mathematician and then still lost the Broad Bolt, or he could have let the
That
Broad
seems
Bolt
really
die.
value negative.
Yeah, I think holding on to what he searched. We'll see. It's I also missed what he searched again, so I'm not 100% sure that it's not a Thoroughblade that he just grabbed, but I feel like the
With
play.
Broad Ball.
Yeah. I feel like
He
if he
took,
had, the play
he
would
took
have been
Whiptail.
more. Okay, good. Yeah. I feel like if he had, the play would have been more aggressive here. Using Mathematician just to dump Dandy to make a link to, like, only attack with the math. We'll see. I'm not sure what sort of links are worth just sitting on here in this situation. Like, Link Karibo is fine. It protects you from dying, but it's not particularly plus. My cat's being whiny again. One sec, I'll go let him out. Maybe he won't bother me anymore. Hi again.
He lost.
Yeah. So, I wonder about that. I wonder if there might have been something better to send with math than Dandy into a random Link Karibo. It's like when you compare Mathematician's utility when you're playing other decks to when you're playing Dragon Rulers, math is like really good, but you don't want to use it as a 1500 floater. Like, compared to Shaddoll decks, or like flip decks that use Shaddolls, which can send Squamata, send Falco, set the Falco, and pressure with the Falco resetting Squamata, popping a monster.
A field like this makes me think that Arcane Group might have rigged the.
Yeah. We were sort of
So,
talking about that as one of the main weaknesses of the Dragon Ruler deck is, like...
Not... yeah, that the bricks are the problem. Like, you have on one end extremely explosive plays, and on the other you just... you are dead from turn one.
When you draw a bunch of vanilla Red Eyes instead of the Red Eyes Fusion and Spirit, it hurts.
Yeah, like, can we add Brainstorm to Yu-Gi-Oh already? I think we deserve it.
It's Pot of Duality, yo. OP.
No, it's not.
Wait, which one? Ponder is Pot of Duality.
No, yeah, it's Ponder. Brainstorm is draw 3, then put 2 back on top. It's
Sylvan Charity.
yeah, it's Sylvan Charity, but without word restrictions. Anyway, I'm not 100% familiar with Zoo. Like, how would you classify them on the control to aggro scale?
Probably not particularly aggro, if nothing other than the fact that they use all of their summons to summon a 2800 beater, and like that's it. But the fact that Rat here, his send to grave effect. Oh my gosh, the other cat is whining at me now. Hopefully she'll be quiet soon. But the Rat send to grave effect.
Giving them love and respect instead of.
I love them so much. They're so cute, but they just like to interrupt me.
Anyway.
Yeah. So we can see.
As you were saying.
Yeah, we can see here he sent a Thoroughblade to try and get this Tiger Mortar setup to go with the Whiptail in hand, because that's like the setup that you want. 1600, 1200, that's 28, plus the Banishing. He can try and hit over this Mathematician and basically force the Link Karibo effect, or just swing like that. Yeah, because Karibo will stall it either way. However, the fact that Rapier sending from deck to grave can send the card Zodiac Combo, which is like a zoo-specific Pot of Avarice that you don't need to draw to use. It just needs to be in your grave. That really like is conducive to a longer, grindier game, because...
What is the regular effect of combo?
You can equip a zoo from your deck to a zoo XYZ monster you control. So basically you can like set it and put a Whiptail on your zoo monster from deck, which is nice. It's nice when you haven't already searched your Whiptail at least, but it's like not terrible. And then the graveyard effect is put 5 zoo monsters from your grave back into your deck, banish this card, and draw a card, which is really good and means that when you decide to play a zoo package, you can sign yourself up for at least 2 of that 2800 banishing beater, which is why I would call it more of a controlling. It's like it's something that you can use to supplement a control deck, or like
Yeah, but as we have seen, they added rank up made
yeah.
some more offensive card with, and this is the point I was trying to make. Are you familiar with the article "Who is the Beatdown"?
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, it's from 1999.
Mm-hmm.
It's by a famous Magic player, I think. And anyway, he said that he believes that the most common cause of losses in a matchup between similar decks is the misattribution of the beatdown roll.
I love to listen to you, but this game is going really cool because that's the Trishula that we just saw slam down.
Yeah,
anyways, continue.
It's Valor, so it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he went up a ramp and stopped before launching away.
Yeah, that's a. Anyway. Go for it.
Okay, the misattribution of the aggressive roll and of the controlish roll. Now, of course, normally Zodiac would be the control deck and Dragons would be the aggro deck. But if both of the players are stumbling in the early game, since Reaper made a rank 4 without using Zodiacs, and of course Arcan Grove that add that weird start where they didn't do
the slow math dandy start.
It's important to understand which player has the opportunity to become aggressive the fastest, and they should take that opportunity as soon as they can.
Yeah. It's good to keep in mind, like we were talking about, specifically with those rank up magics, like zoos have the ability to pressure, and that's part of the reasons why in Trinity in particular they are good at supplementing a control shell, because they let you push for game in a way that some decks like Pacifists just struggle with, where they like draw pass for several turns with if the opponent isn't like doing anything, specifically because the pacifist token gets the pacifist token isn't summoned unless the opponent activates something. But another thing to keep in mind here is
or as we've also seen, when your clock is literally 400 damage each turn.
Yeah, oh gosh, that was an interesting round. This is sort of rough though.
Milling your opponent out.
I was gonna say, like, one of the trade-offs of including more aggressive cards like Rank Up Magic in Zoo is something that we saw last game. Your back row, your defensive control options aren't as consistent, and that really hurt when he just got his face smashed in over his rank 4. And in this game, I was going to say something similar might be happening, but it looks like Ripper had a hand trap there, and Arcane was baited into thinking the opponent wasn't ready on defense because there was no back row.
Yes,
this is
it's right now as double dragon. You can use and probably, I mean, who wants Tempest anyway? He probably, as soon as he gets rid of Trishula, he can go in rank 7.
Yeah, this game is far from over, but I talk about this sometimes. I think that the power of hand traps, the fact that they stay in your hand in Trinity, obviously, like, should not be underestimated, because one of the things that I do very often on this stream is think about what the opponent's set back row could be and how to best play around it. And this aspect is taken away from hand traps. Like, you don't know, it's even harder to try and think about what's in your opponent's hand. You really don't know, because it's so, like, there are so many more options of what it could be. It could be monsters or speller traps. I think he's just going into like a Nightmare Unicorn. The Black Metal Dragon.
Let me dream. This is so sad.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to trigger the Black Metal Dragon's effect, or he's trying to. I'm not sure what the play is from here because this is 2 summons. Or no, it's only 1, so he can still like summon. The Black Metal Dragon gets its float effect because it's an if you can, and it was sent. So he can search that insight, which further sets up his very full grave, which means that this is going to be a long one, I think, assuming that he doesn't get killed immediately. But we were sort of talking about this. It's like Zoo can pressure for damage, but they aren't the sort of deck that can just kill you immediately.
I don't think that the role of aggressor and the role of control player are quite set in stone yet.
Yeah.
Because once, the grave is well stocked, so Grove can go on for a while.
Yeah, Trishula's a dragon as well, so that means, or Dandy's an earth, which means it's redox applicable. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fodder monsters, and or no, 8 fodder monsters, and then 2 dragon rulers, which is like, oof. And the Gaia Saber will also be a fodder monster. Okay, so now we sort of see what's going on here with the summon limit plays. That was a misclick. 1 extra 0 there. You want to pay 800, not 8,000. But
maybe he's just scooping because he's tired.
No. This is actually a big play, I think, because yeah, or I mean, this is gonna be.
Unless it depends if the set is live or is a bluff.
Yeah, because the Black Metal Dragon was only 1 summon for this turn, and because the Flamvell Guard was a normal monster, the Gaia Saber is a non-effect monster. This Redox makes 2, but the Premature can get back Red Eyes Black Dragon, which is a non-effect monster, or Flamvell Guard, and that means that there will still be 2 summons and either a rank 7 or a level 8 synchro option. And so,
are you going to Omega here?
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like the rank 7 is the one that's picked. Arcane seems to have a soft spot for this Red Eyes Flare Metal. However, its effect requires a legal target before being able to pay costs, so he can't detach the Red Eyes to revive it unless he already had a legal Red Eyes target in grave, which he doesn't. So maybe now we will see that Big Eye. Or if he's scared of like a Mirror Force or something, he can go for the Draco Sack and just pop the Tiger Mortar. Like, understanding.
Are there other rank 7 that are worth going into?
There's a Master of Blades, which like can't be targeted, but it's only 2,700, so it wouldn't solve this Tiger Mortar. And now we'll get to see what this back row is. I think a minor optimization that could have been done here.
Somebody in defense mode.
Exactly, because we've now seen that this back row probably isn't monster summon prevention or effect negation, otherwise he would have saved his Tiger Mortar. And
it's also not. So what's is it combo? Is it bluffing combo?
It's very possible. That's one of the things that we can assume is in his deck due to what he's playing. But had it been Mirror Force summoning this Big Guys in defense, it can't attack anyways, would have been slightly safer because it's still like the same amount of damage. But yep, it was just a foolish. So we'll see. He already has a Dark Worm in grave, so Xernatron does not really do anything here. I would think one thing that's possible is running a Destrudo, because he already runs the Dark Worm, so... And like Destrudo turning random level 4 zoo monsters into level 7 synchro.
Destrudo the kind of card that you would take out of in the game 2 and 3 of a matchup against a really aggressive deck.
Yeah, because it's a very hefty life point payment. But
I mean, right now it would be nothing since 550 is.
Yeah. Instead, I imagine we are going to see an Exciton Knight with this Zodiac Cataroost, which is an interesting and uncommon one that
And,
protects zoo monsters from being targeted. This premature should have been in grave since the big eye was made, but it's going to go to grave now, presumably.
that's then he can't play. Does it season also work on piety?
What's up?
No, then if Burial is in grave, then
Sorry, I think you cut out. What was that?
if Burial isn't in play, then he can't
Oh, yeah,
play
yeah.
Setziton.
I guess he had to use it because of the numbers.
It's
So,
4 versus 4. Oh, well, anyway, it's over since fusion into the guy, Mill Red Md.
oh, shoot, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter, but Reaper is still a cheater, so he is getting.
Hey, be nice to
sorry.
our players. Yeah,
I'm
this
sorry,
is
Reaper.
this is lethal because last turn you're right. The premature should have been gone, so the Exciting Knight math it wouldn't have been able to activate its effect. But this turn it is still 2 cards to 4, so it can't activate now, and this attack will be game because this is one thick meteor black
No,
comet
he doesn't
dragon.
need to attack. He just sends this guy.
Oh yeah.
And it's over. Anyway, just because it worked out this time doesn't mean that we don't have to call out rules violations. So
It's just, it's literally a constant unwinnable battle to make sure that you always play every interaction correctly. It's like, that's just how it is. You have to always continue to be vigilant, and that's okay. Like, no one's going to, you're not going to be ostracized and excommunicated because you misplayed or missed a ruling. It's just like it's good to keep in mind and stay vigilant, and we aren't like calling this out to bully you, especially like because technically it's always both players' responsibility to make sure that no misplays are being played. Like that was both Ripper and Arcane should have been paying attention to that math there, to like making sure the premature went to grave, but it still turned out all right. And it looks like Arcane clutched this one out. Dragon Rulers over Zoo. Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah. So, thanks
Okay,
everyone.
Wait. I mean, yeah, let's thank everyone, but don't just stop the streaming because
No, yeah, yeah, I know.
cut out the audio. Just leave it out for a minute to anything, and
yeah,
then
I know. I was gonna keep it going for a minute instead of like cutting it. So, yeah, we can just say like, this is the end. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'll see you around 3 probably, and I don't know, Siberian may or may not be around, or it could be someone new.
You can find my PayPal in the description of the video. Please send money. I'm starving, and
Bye!
bye.
Okay, so I will watch this thing right up until, for a minute. Hopefully I'll get it right. I should have timed it.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that Thrift Shop by Makomura is underrated, but no one is going to hear this now.
Yeah, I'll know that we stopped talking about anything important because that's when I clicked to the stream instead of Dueling Book. So there'll maybe be like a couple seconds between when I see it on the stream and when we end the recording. How many viewers did we get?
5.
Slightly fewer than last time, but that's fine.
This is an attack on me personally, and
Well,
I will burn the Discord.
Yeah, how could they not come in to see surprise guest commentator? That's fine. People watch back the VODs fairly often too, so.
You mean Sino watches the VODs and
Sino watches it live, even when he's in match. Or at least that's what everyone says. Okay, I just clicked away. Obs.